When I got to meet you, your husband and your girlfriend in person, like I saw the love instantly between the three of you, which was so incredible to witness. And I think the messaging really from us at Femto All to whoever's listening, nobody has a standardized look at relationships. Nobody should say like this is the way it's supposed to be, because you never know how love is going to evolve and what it looks like. And I think everybody in this day and age should have the opportunity to love whoever, however they want to.
It has evolved so much from the beginning. So like in my initial relationship with my now husband, Jared, we were, I'd say, 3 years into our relationship before we decided that like an open relationship was something that we wanted to pursue. Yeah, those first 3 years we were just monogamous. We didn't have any, want for an open relationship. I think Jared definitely did at some point. He had been in an open relationship prior, but I hadn't, and I told him that I wasn't comfortable with that. And then there was somebody that I had worked with at my job, where I was interested in him and he was interested in me. And so I went back to Jared and was like, hey, remember when you had mentioned that?
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Femme Tell All podcast. My name is Madison Bellissimo.
And I'm Ruth Devereaux.
And we're so happy you're here.
Always happy you're here.
The happiest.
Every day.
And now we're doing a musical podcast. I don't know what to tell you. But what makes us happier is we have a guest. And this is the second time we've recorded this.
Take
and
two.
We thank her so much for giving us her time.
Literally take two with
Yes.
Midge Tkocz.
Yes.
And we are so thankful. Thank you so much for being here, Midge.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Midge.
Hi, of course.
Yeah. So Midge is here not only because she is one of my really great friends from college. We've known each other for 10, can we say 10 years now? Wow, holy shit. Yeah, we
10
can
years.
say 10 years.
Oof.
Oh my God. Yeah. So it was 10 years of friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've always admired about you, obviously, and I've told you this when we recorded last time, and I will tell you again until I'm blue in the face, is just how open you are as a person and how wonderful you are as a friend. I've always been able to watch you so fondly from afar and from close up.
Yeah.
You know, when you moved to New York, it was hard.
And now that I got to meet you in person, originally on the first recording, I've fallen in love with you. You're incredible.
We love Midge here. We love Midge so much.
Thanks so much,
And
guys.
please. And you're also a longtime listener, which we really
also love.
appreciate.
Day one, obviously.
Day one.
We love it.
Yeah. And you were the first person to post about us on your story,
Aw.
which we love. Thank you so
Even
much
better.
for the
Of
support.
course.
But one thing that's really interesting about Midge is that she's in a throuple.
Yes.
And you were one of the first open couple that I knew, at least that I was privy to, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk to you about this on the pod just to make sure that, people that might not be exposed to it as far as in their daily life, someone they know closely, there's so much, I feel like stigma, even it is taboo to be like, oh my God, a throuple, like there's 3 people in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, how does that work? How does an open relationship work?
And I will say that even when I got to meet you, your husband and your girlfriend in person, like I saw the love instantly between the three of you, which was so incredible to witness. And I think the messaging really from us at Femto All to whoever's listening, and also in front of you, and oh my God, I can't talk. But anyway, it's just to say that nobody has a standardized look at relationships. Nobody should say like this is the way it's supposed to be, because you never know how love is going to evolve and what it looks like. And I think everybody in this day and age should have the opportunity to love whoever, however they want to. And I think we wanted to talk to you just because maybe some people might think being in a throuple isn't like a standardized relationship, but we wanted to get a better understanding for either somebody that's interested in learning about it or just has questions or wants to understand what this type of relationship would look like.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the best word that you used was evolution. Like, I think that
Yeah.
it has evolved so much from the beginning. So, like, in my initial relationship with my now husband, Jared, we were, I'd say, 3 years into our relationship before we decided that, like, an open relationship was something that we wanted to pursue. And
Well,
so,
that was like
yeah,
that
go
was one of
ahead.
our first questions. Like, how did this topic come up? Like, who presented it? Were you instantly in an open relationship, or how did this become what you guys currently have?
Yeah. So we've now been together for 7 years. But yeah, those first 3 years we were just monogamous. We didn't have any, want for an open relationship. I think Jared definitely did at some point. He had been in an open relationship prior, but I hadn't, and I told him that I wasn't comfortable with that. And then there was somebody that I had worked with at my job, where I was interested in him and he was interested in me. And so I went back to Jared and was like, hey, remember when you had mentioned that?
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
That cute little conversation we had. It's funny. I have a work crush now.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay,
And
great.
so, so that's how we opened it up initially. For me, that fell through. And then for Jared, he didn't actually pursue anyone until about 2.5 years ago. So we were already married at this point. And it happens to be the person that we're now currently
Your
in a
girlfriend.
relationship, our
Yeah.
girlfriend,
Yeah.
Michelle. And so he started pursuing her 2.5 years ago, but they've known each other also for about 7 years. They were friends before that. And so, but I wasn't friends with Michelle until after they had been sleeping together. And initially, our open relationship was just sleeping with other people. There was to be no emotions involved. And Jared and Michelle both describe themselves as demisexual. So they would prefer to have somebody with like an emotional connection before they sleep with them. And I think that in that, it was just the friendship, like just knowing someone friendship wise was enough for them. And so, it evolved in that way where they were comfortable with it just being sex. And then when I admitted that I had a crush on Michelle, we started like very romantically. Like we were like going on dates, we were doing stuff like that, and it just kind of naturally evolved into, oh, well, maybe they should go on dates then so that it's more even. And so
Yeah.
What was your
and
first
now-
date with Michelle?
Oh man, I feel like I just like went over to her house one day and we like watched
Yeah.
a scary movie and like snuggled on her couch.
Wait, a Netflix and chill first date?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you would describe yourself as bisexual, correct? Now,
Yes.
but like prior to that, we've joked that you were like, I didn't really think, like, I liked men enough, right? Like, it was
Yeah,
kind of your
exactly. I definitely felt like I liked men enough to just like just date men.
response. Be straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think now it's definitely evolved. I think that if I were to like date other people, it probably wouldn't be men.
Totally.
Just because I feel like that's just the dating pool that I have looked at. Like I would rather be dating
We
women.
commend you. We commend you. We understand you. We support you. Exactly. That's
Madison
awesome.
wishes.
Yeah.
Literally. No, I think there's a couple people that have me in their prayers for Mac, my best friend, always is like, one day maybe.
Yeah.
My verdict is pretty decided, but we'll see. We do have a couple more questions for you, obviously, because we are so intrigued by this.
Absolutely.
But also, again, like I just feel like anytime, like if it's come up talking about doing this episode with you. People are like, oh, a throuple? Like, any of
Yeah.
our friends, they're just like so intrigued. So it is such a like, ooh, I have questions, but I would never dare ask. Like, I think there is a good portion of it that people are like, I want to be respectful, which instead of like judgy, which I appreciate, like anyone that we associate with. But they're still like, oh my God, how does that work? So we just have a couple more follow-up questions for you. But one of my first ones is, how do you guys struggle with jealousy at all? Like, do
Definitely.
any party?
Yeah.
Okay, heard.
Which is a great answer, because I think so many people think, oh my God, I'd be so jealous. But to know that even in that, you still have to like wade through those jealousy emotions.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that at first, especially with just the sleeping together aspect of it, I would get really jealous. And it wasn't something that Michelle was ever privy to. I was not like expressing that to her during our hangouts. But when I would hang out with Jared, I was definitely like, hey, like, I feel like you're going over there a lot, and like, we're maybe not having as much sex as you're having with her. And so like, that was definitely a point of jealousy. But I think that that's also just not something that like I initiate a lot, right? Like I am not a person who really wants sex a lot. I also have gone through a lot of like medical things lately. And so like in the past, I think it's now just
3
a
years,
year.
right?
No, well,
just
yes.
now.
In 3 years, I've had 3 surgeries, but in the past year, I've had 2.
Yeah.
And so I think that was definitely part of it for me, is just like not being able to have sex or not wanting to because of that, has definitely had its ups and downs with jealousy. But I think that that's really the only jealousy I experienced. Nothing when like we started going on dates or anything, because we've always been pretty equitable about that. In my opinion, I feel like, we really try to schedule our dates so that all of us
you
have
love
that.
all
The
of us have
time
like the
with
same
each other.
amount.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder because Jared and I live with each other, whereas right now we don't live with Michelle. But hopefully that'll change in the next few months. But
Hopefully you guys are moving in together, which we talked about when you all were here, all 3 of you, which we couldn't be happier for you guys. I hope that works out. But as far as I wanted to touch on something really quick, Midge. We didn't talk about this in our first episode, but I love that you kind of brought up like alluded to your sex drive being a little different than theirs. And like, I think that would be such a huge plus of being in a throuple, as far as like, you're like, y'all go ahead.
Exactly.
I support you. Like, go forth, my children. Like, I feel like that would be a huge plus if you don't have like necessarily not like incompatible, but just maybe not the same drive as your partner. And I know I felt guilty about that in the past when being with a partner when I was on birth control, and my sex drive was completely like not obsolete, but just above, And I remember being like, I want to give this to you, but like, that sounds like a lot right now.
Yeah.
And just being like, oh my God, like, I feel like and knowing that both partners are satisfied, they're like scratching that itch, so to speak. That it's a healthy consensual relationship too. Like, I feel like that would give such like release of, I don't know, pressure maybe? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
yeah, definitely. I think you nailed it on the head. Like, I think that for me initially when we were all together, I definitely felt a lot of guilt for like if they wanted to all sleep together and I was like, "Oh, I am not in the mood right now." I was definitely like feeling jealous, or not jealous. I was feeling, I don't know,
guilt,
nervous.
maybe?
Yeah, guilty and like nervous about
Even though
like saying no.
You don't need to be it.
Exactly.
Yeah, of
And then
course.
we communicated about that. And I think like communication is key in all of
Massive
this.
in any relationship.
And so I've been able to be like, you guys go ahead. Like, I'm going to watch a movie on Netflix and like, we'll be fine. So yeah, it is definitely helpful.
I love that.
Well, we kind of talked about this actually after our recording last time, that I wanted to touch on with you again, is they say you can't get everything from one person. And I had asked you, I'm like, now having two people, are you able to get everything? And I don't think it's ever everything, but you do have a different pull and play here, because like a woman, what she can offer in that emotional support and that love and that caring is different than what a man can offer in like in support in other ways. Like, so I feel like you do have a great balance between the two because of those different energies you're receiving from each one.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Jared's currently reading a book that I was trying to read via audiobook, and I'm just more of a visual person, so I need to pick up the actual book. But it's called Polysecure, and it is a book about like how to handle those dynamics, especially if people have different attachment styles.
Sure.
And so, yeah, we've kind of gone through a couple things, but specifically in the book that we were all three discussing recently, was that there are kind of two different types of partners. There's a safe haven, and there is a secure base, or like a home base or something.
Yeah.
And so a safe haven is somebody that you can go to in the moment about something. Like, let's say something at work is stressing you out and you don't know what to do. And so you go to that person for that thing in that moment. And then a secure base is somebody who is there for you kind of in a deeper way, I guess. And so the author of the book was talking about how her husband is her safe haven, or not her safe haven, her home base, or her secure base. And he is the person that she goes to when like she needs help with childcare, and she needs to make sure that X, Y, and Z get done at the house because those things are stressing her out right now. But because he's dealing with all of those things, he can't also be her safe haven when she has like a talk to give at, you know, a big conference hall. Like, he's dealing with the kid. He's dealing with all these things at home.
Yeah.
He's not there to talk to her on the phone about X, Y, and Z. And it's not that, you know, anybody needs to be all of those things for you, and nobody needs to be, you know, it's okay if somebody is just one of those things. And it's also okay if it fluctuates between different people. But I think in that regard, I think I have both a secure base and a safe haven in both of them right now. But it is comforting to know that, like, if one of them weren't available for that, that I do have the other person.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. And to Ruth's point and to your point, like, you can allocate like things, you know, like I'm sure there's, I don't know, just from experiencing, I know your relationship with Jared prior to Michelle, and then seeing you with Michelle. Michelle is absolutely lovely. I was so privileged to meet her.
Yeah.
And like, we've already texted. She's a girly pop, and I love it. And
I
like,
know.
we talked about like products. I'm like, hey. And like, even having that in a relationship, right? Like, where I know that Jared can like girly pop enough, like for the, you know, but
Yes.
like to have someone that, you know, I'm using girly pop in like the colloquial sense of just like hee.
I know exactly what you mean.
Okay. I just want to, for the people at home that might not understand girly pop. But I think Michelle, you know, like that's just one of those things. She's obviously entirely multifaceted. I don't want this to be the only thing that I'm alluding to that she brings you, but I think that is something that is a huge strength that you're experiencing that you wouldn't get necessarily all the time from Jared, or you can, you know, tap each partner in and they would be able to do the same with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. See, you're converting me, dude.
I don't know.
Says the single person. I'm like,
I mean,
two partner.
Did you see Challengers? It was quite good.
No, I haven't seen it, and it's on the list though. It's on the list. I'm gonna look into that.
It's unfortunately not the Throuple movie that I hoped it was, but
Sure.
still, it is pretty
Listen.
good to see.
It's good that it's bringing
two
the
guys and a
conversation to the
girl in it.
forefront.
Yeah.
Yeah, representation. That's actually coming forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my next question, are there any rules or guidelines? You talked about having like separate dates, so you make sure everything's like even between each other. Are there any rules that you feel like you guys have to live by to make sure you have a healthy relationship together?
Yeah, I think that right now it's mostly just communication as much as we can. I'm now realizing I don't remember what I said the first time in regards to what our rules are.
I remember.
Oh,
you
what
do?
what did I
I
say?
do. I remember you said that if two people were fighting, the other person
Yes.
could not get involved. And I thought that was massive.
Yeah.
Yes, that is.
What a queen.
I know. Thank
I
you.
got you.
It was, yes, that is such a big one. Especially if it's something small, where it really does not matter who's right in the argument or whatever in the discussion. That third person does not need to get involved. There hasn't been a scenario of like it getting much more intense than that, but if it were, I think that we would obviously handle it the way we handle it. But I think trying to let one party be neutral is really good. And then not talking to that third person about it.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have a separate person to talk to. So, I talk to my friend Courtney, and like, we all have our different people that we would go to in that scenario. So, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so the next question that we have is, what if one partner wanted to break things off, but you didn't? How would you decide to proceed?
Yeah. So I think that right now we would probably, the person who didn't break things off would probably just continue seeing both people. As, I mean, things obviously, it would depend on why things broke off and all of that.
Totally.
But
It's more nuanced than that. Like,
Yeah.
this is a very simplified question, but I'm sure that is something that people are like, well, what about if you and Jared got a divorce? Or if, like, Jared, I don't know, if one of you were like, I don't want to be with Michelle anymore. It's not going to happen. They're a very happy, lovely couple. But theoretically, I assume with the level of communication you guys are operating at, you have to almost, it's like, kind of like a prenup. You almost have to have like a pre-planned, like,
Absolutely.
what would we do if that happened?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that for our current situation, I think that we would all try to be friends as much as we could. That would be obviously assuming that things ended amicably, but we're all friends with exes. We've all had good relationships with our exes. I invited my ex to our wedding.
Yeah, I don't understand how people don't do this. Like, everybody, I feel like, is taught, like, you break up, you're never allowed to talk to this person again. And as you guys all know, like, I'm best friends with my long-term ex and ex-husband. Like, he's an incredible human being. We didn't work out. I don't understand, like, the conjunction of, like, no.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it definitely depends.
Yeah.
It definitely depends. Like,
On how
will
it
say
ends, yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Because you all are really mature, like, compassionate adults. No, it's true. And I think that's the only way that it was an amicable split, both for you and your ex that I sat next to at your wedding.
Yeah.
And then, like, shout out to him and his beautiful wife. Like, they're lovely. But
her birthday was yesterday.
It's one of those things. Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, Gemini Queen.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that, like, if it's amicable and you're able to, like, have a respect for one another, absolutely. Obviously, if there's, like, infidelity, something that's crazy, that ended up really derailing your friendship in the first place, then I think it might not be the vibe to be friends with your ex.
Well, speaking of infidelity, though, is there an option to go outside of the relationship? Are you guys allowed to still see other people?
Yeah, so I think that that's also a very nuanced question. In the sense that, so when we started all of this, Jared and I were each other's primary partners, and Michelle was just kind of a third in the relationship. And I think that that's really evolved over time, to where it's definitely a lot more equitable now, where, like, we are all trying to be each other's, not primary partners, but just be there for each other as much as we can. And so Michelle does still date. She still goes on dates with people, and is looking for that, but it would have to be a very special person for her to, like, continue dating them. I think she goes on a lot of, like, first to third dates, and then
Yeah.
kind of like narrows it down from there. Um, and no one has really, lasted longer than that. I think that she's also, it's on her dating profile that she is, I think it says like a third in a marriage. But so people are kind of aware, but some people don't ask. Some people do ask her about it. So it's a different kind of level of people knowing when dating her. And so, like, obviously they're aware of it, but it's not something maybe they've talked about explicitly, like what she would do if they were in a relationship.
Totally.
It would really, really depend on the situation. For Jared and I don't have the bandwidth. I could not possibly date anyone else right now.
You're like, I got two main
I'm
squeezes.
good.
Yeah, I
Sure.
couldn't. But and I don't think Jared really could either. I think that it's a lot to be in a relationship with two people.
Totally.
So at the moment, no, but that's not to say that, like, if we did find somebody who was really special to us, that we couldn't bring it to the group and kind of ask how everyone felt about it and suss it out. And so I think that, it's nuanced, but I think saying, like, is it allowed? Yes. But it would be discussed prior.
Yes, it would be a discussion, and the person potentially coming into that, or like being involved would have to be extremely accepting and supportive of your throuple.
I think that there would be kind of two parts to it. It would be either let's say it's somebody that Michelle were to bring in, either they would date separately and then we would still also have our throuple and date her. Or if they were a very specific person, then I guess we could all date. But I honestly don't know how all of that would work, just because this is something that we kind of fell into. Like, I happened to have a crush on Michelle, and Jared was okay with me pursuing that as well. And so it kind of morphed into this. It wasn't something that we were like, we want to find a third for our marriage.
Just the stars aligned.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely. And I also do feel like any type of group of people, like if you bring in another person, it changes the energy and the makeup. And you'd probably have to like restart from ground zero of like, how does this all work together?
Exactly. Yeah. And they would have to be a great communicator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Which everybody should want in their relationship.
Exactly.
Correct. We have one last question for you, Midge. Would you ever be open? I mean, you kind of answered this, but like adding other partners into like, how would you guys say that happened? Like, what's the degree of polyamory, I guess, so to speak?
How many people
have you guys pre-discussed that? I mean, you kind of touched on it in this last answer, but
we've definitely,
have you guys,
we've touched on it. I think that it would have to be a very specific person. I think that it would be really unlikely if it were a man. Or really unlikely, actually. I'm taking that back. I think it'd be unlikely if it were a woman, because I think 3 women and Jared would be intense. And so I think it would probably end up being a man, just because that would be something that like Jared could explore his bisexuality. I think then, I think Michelle kind of gravitates towards dating men. That's also, I saw this whole mathematical breakdown of bisexual people and why bisexual people generally end up with somebody of the opposite gender is just because, like, if there were, 50 men and 50 women in a room, the amount of them that are also attracted to women is like so small. And so, and then you also, there's only a few men in that aren't attracted to women. So it was like this whole breakdown. There's like a 6% chance of, if you're equally attracted to men and women, which I think Michelle would say she is, that you would end up with a woman. And so I think there's also that.
Okay. Wow.
All right. Well, we're actually running out of time here. So I just want to have you answer one last quick question. If somebody is looking to get into this type of relationship, what's the number one piece of advice you would give them?
communication, definitely. And if it's somebody that's looking for a single person looking to join a married or an already established couple, then I would say that they should look for somebody who is really secure in their relationship already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Thank you so much, Midge. You're the best. We couldn't love you more. You've answered this so eloquently.
Incredibly.
I
Thank
love
you
you
so
guys
much.
too.
And I know that it helped a lot of people out
Yeah.
there. We thank you guys so much for joining. If you're questioning this type of relationship, please be open to it. Make sure you communicate. Be honest with your partner about what your interests are. And just have that conversation. You can have any type of relationship you want. There are no rules here. We thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. And we'll see you next week on Femme to All.
Thank you. Thank you, Midge.
Of course. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.